thrown out by her stepmother at 21. Amara fought hunger, insults, and shame. From carrying loads in the market to sewing clothes in a tiny shop, she refused to give up. Then one day, destiny brought the governor's son to her doorstep. And what happened next will shock you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. The morning sun filtered through the thin curtains of the small house. But for Amara, light meant nothing. It was just the beginning of another day filled with suffering. At 21, she should have been building her own dreams, laughing with friends, or planning her future. But instead, she was trapped in her stepmother's house, treated worse than a servant. Her name was Amara, and she carried it with quiet dignity, even though every day chipped away at her spirit. Amara, a sharp voice echoed from the sitting room. It was Madame Ifeoma, her stepmother. "Are you still sleeping? Lazy girl, come and sweep this floor before I break your head." Amara quickly dropped the rag she was washing and ran into the parlor. The tiled floor was already littered with her stepsister's clothes, shoes, and crumbs from the food they had eaten the night before. "Yes, Ma," she whispered, bowing her head as she picked up the broom. Her two stepsisters, Kioma and Adaiz, lounged on the sofa, scrolling through their phones. Their nails were polished, their clothes neat, their hair freshly braided. They looked like women ready for the world. Amara, in contrast, wore an old faded gown with patches at the edges. Her hair was rough and tied back with a torn scarf. Kioma smirked. "Sister maid, did you wash my clothes?" Amara nodded. "Yes, they're on the line." "You better iron them well," Adaiz added. "I don't want to smell smoke on my dress like last time. If you burn it, I'll tell Mama to chase you out." Madame Ifeoma, who had been sipping tea, slammed her cup on the table. "Hurry up with that sweeping and go to the market. Buy meat, tomatoes, and pepper. And don't you dare steal my change. You hear me? I know you, hungry rat." Amara's heart ached at those words. She had never stolen anything in her life, but her stepmother spoke as if she was a criminal. Still, she kept quiet. She had learned that silence was her shield. After sweeping, she rushed to the market under the blazing sun. The heat beat against her back, but she kept moving, carrying the heavy basket. Traders shouted prices at her, some mocking her old clothes. By the time she returned, sweat drenched her body and her arms ached. Finally, Madame Ifeoma snapped when Amara dropped the food items. "Do you want us to die of hunger before you come back? Lazy fool. Go and wash the plates, then cook. After that, fetch water from the well." "Yes, Ma," Amara said softly. Hours passed in endless labor. She washed piles of dirty plates, scrubbed the soot-stained pots, then prepared food while her stepmother and stepsisters laughed and gossiped in the sitting room. The aroma of the stew made her stomach twist, but she knew her place. When the food was ready, she served them carefully. Kioma and Adaizi ate greedily, licking their fingers, while Madame Ifeoma nodded with satisfaction. "And you?" Madame Ifeoma turned to Amara, her eyes cold. "Did you cook for yourself?" Amara swallowed. "No, Ma." "Then go and lick the pot," Kioma said, with a cruel laugh. Adaizi joined in, clapping her hands. Humiliation washed over Amara. She bowed her head and returned to the kitchen. She scraped the burnt bottom of the pot and put the blackened pieces into her mouth, tears stinging her eyes. When she finished, she still had to fetch water from the neighborhood well. She carried the heavy bucket on her head, while other young women her age passed by, dressed in fine clothes, laughing with friends. Some even whispered, "That's the poor orphan girl, always working like a donkey." By the time Amara returned home, Her neck ached and her arms trembled, but Madame Ifeoma was waiting with another task. Wash your sister's clothes. They want to go out tomorrow. Make sure you scrub them clean. And when you finish, sweep the backyard. Don't think of resting. You were not brought into this house to rest. Amara bent her head, her voice trembling. Yes, Ma. Late that night, after everyone had gone to sleep, Amara sat outside in the darkness. Her hands were raw from washing, her back sore from bending, her eyes swollen with hidden tears. She stared at the moon above, whispering to herself, Why me? What did I do to deserve this life? If Mama and Papa were here, maybe things would be different. But they are gone, and I am alone. A single tear slid down her cheek. She wiped it quickly, afraid of her own weakness. Inside, laughter rose from her stepsister's room. They were planning what to wear the next day, what parties to attend, what men they would meet. Amara listened, her heart heavy. She was the same age as them, yet her life was nothing but suffering. As she laid her head on the hard wooden bench outside, hunger gnawed at her stomach, but sleep soon dragged her under. She slept not with dreams, but with the silent pain of a young woman trapped in a house without love. The days rolled into weeks, and weeks into years, but Amara's life never changed. From morning till night, she worked like a servant in the same house her late father had once owned. The more she endured, the more her stepmother and stepsisters found new ways to break her spirit. It was not just the chores or the insults. Madame Ifeoma also made sure that every door of happiness was closed against Amara. One Sunday afternoon, a young man named Emeka came to their house. He was a tall, respectable man, with good manners and a gentle smile. His family had noticed Amara in church and admired her quiet nature. He wanted to ask for her hand in marriage. Amara was in the kitchen, pounding yam, her face glowing with sweat. She did not know her name was the reason for the visitor, but before she could even greet him, Madame Ifeoma blocked the way. "Ah, my son, welcome," the stepmother said, her voice sweet as honey. "So you came because of Amara?" She chuckled bitterly. "My dear, that girl has epilepsy. She falls down and shakes like a fish. I cannot allow you to destroy your life with her." Emeka looked surprised. "Epilepsy? But she looks healthy." "Looks can deceive," Madame Ifeoma interrupted quickly. "A man like you deserves better. Look at my daughters, Kioma and Adaizi. Strong, beautiful, and clean. Choose from them instead." She called her daughters, who came out smiling and twisting their waists. But Emeka's eyes told a different story. He had seen Amara many times, humble and hard-working. Kioma and Adaiz looked proud, their voices sharp, their behavior arrogant. In the end, Emeka stood, thanked them, and left without making any promise. Amara overheard part of the conversation from the kitchen. Her heart broke. She knew she had no sickness. She had never once fainted in her life. Yet her stepmother had painted her as a cursed woman just to keep joy out of her reach. It did not happen once. It happened again and again. Another man came, Obinna, a businessman from town. His eyes had followed Amara at the market. He admired her hard-working spirit and wanted to make her his wife. But Madame Ifeoma told the same lie. "Amara? That girl is sick. Her sickness will disgrace you. But my daughters, they are the pride of every home." Just like before, Obinna took one look at Kioma and Adaizi, their proud faces and lazy ways, and shook his head. He left, never to return. Each time, Amara's heart sank deeper. She wanted to scream, to tell the truth, but fear held her back. If she dared to speak against Madame Ifeoma, she would be beaten, or starved, so she swallowed her pain in silence. Her stepsisters, however, never missed a chance to mock her. "Even the men don't want you," Chioma sneered one evening. "Mama tells them the truth. You are useless." Adiz laughed, clapping her hands. "No wonder you are always in the kitchen. Who will marry a slave girl?" Their words cut deeper than knives, but Amara never answered. She knew their mockery was born of jealousy. She had beauty they did not have, and humility that made her shine without effort. But still, what was beauty without freedom? And so, the years dragged on, each one filled with disappointment and tears. Then came the breaking point. It was a hot afternoon. Amara had just returned from the well, her arms shaking from carrying 2 heavy buckets. As she set them down, Madame Ifeoma burst into the yard, her face dark with anger. "I am tired of seeing you in this house," she screamed. "You eat my food, you waste my space, and you bring no fortune. Every suitor that comes leaves because of you. You are a curse, Amara, a living curse." Amara's lips trembled. "Mama, please, where will I go? This is my father's house." "Your father is dead," Madame Ifeoma snapped. "This is my house now. Pack your things and leave before I drag you out like a thief." Chioma and Adiz stood by, smirking. They did not beg for mercy. Instead, they clapped their hands in mock celebration, eager to see her humiliated. Amara looked around. The walls that once gave her shelter now felt like prison gates. She realized there was no love here, no hope. Her stepmother's heart was too hard, her sisters too wicked. With trembling hands, she gathered her few belongings into an old bag, a faded gown, 2 wrappers, and the picture of her parents, the only reminder of love she had ever known. As she stepped out of the house, her stepmother shouted behind her, "Don't ever come back. If I see you near this house again, I will set dogs on you." The heavy iron gates slammed shut. Amara stood on the dusty road, the sun beating down on her head, her bag heavy in her hands. She felt the weight of rejection pressing on her chest. Tears filled her eyes, but she did not allow them to fall. For the first time in 21 years, she was alone, truly alone. But somewhere deep inside her heart, a quiet voice whispered, "This is not the end. Your story has just begun." She sat under the shade, her heart heavy. She looked around. People were passing, cars were honking, children were laughing. Life was moving on. But for her, time felt frozen. "What will I do now?" she whispered to herself. For a moment, she thought about begging. But Amara was not lazy. She had never been the type to fold her hands and wait for pity. Deep inside, she believed that her hands, though rough and tired, could build something better. She remembered her father's words when she was much younger. "Amara, hard work will never kill you. It will only shape you." Those words returned like a whisper in her ear. And suddenly, an idea came. She stood up, wiped her tears with the back of her hand, and began to walk toward the busy market in town. The market was noisy and full of life. Women shouted the prices of their tomatoes and onions, men pushed wheelbarrows loaded with yams, and children ran between stalls. Amara tightened her scarf and walked slowly through the crowd, unsure of where to start. "Fine girl, you want to buy something?" a pepper seller called. Amara shook her head. "No, Ma. Please. I need work. Anything at all. I can sweep, wash, carry loads, just something to get small money." The woman looked at her from head to toe. Her gown was faded, her sandals dusty, but her eyes were serious. Carry these basins of pepper to that shop across the road. I will give you something small." Amara bent quickly, lifted the heavy basin and carried it carefully across the road. By the time she dropped it, sweat poured down her back. The woman handed her 50 naira. It was little, but Amara smiled. It was the first money she had ever earned for herself. That day, she carried loads for another trader, swept the floor for a yam seller, and even washed plates for a food vendor. Every coin she collected, she folded neatly into her bag. She told herself she would not waste a single naira. When the market closed, Amara had nowhere to go. She walked through the streets until she saw an uncompleted building. The walls stood tall, but roofless, the windows empty holes. She stepped inside, dropped her bag in one corner, and sat on the cold cement floor. Her body ached from the day's work, her hands sore from lifting, but her heart carried a strange peace. For the first time, she was free from Madame Ifeoma's insults. For the first time, she had earned her own bread. She brought out a small piece of bread she had bought from a hawker and ate slowly, making it last. When she finished, she laid her head on her bag and closed her eyes. The night was dark, mosquitoes buzzed, and strange noises echoed from the street, but she whispered a prayer. God, I don't know why life is this hard, but please, don't let me give up. Help me to rise, even if it takes years. The next morning, she woke up stiff and hungry, but her spirit was not broken. She went back to the market and worked again. She carried bags of rice, fetched water, and even cleaned out a woman's chicken pen. The work was dirty, but Amara never complained. Day after day, she repeated the routine. By evening, she would return to her corner in the uncompleted building, counting the little coins she had earned. She saved everything, eating only what was necessary to survive. The market women began to notice her. Some pitied her, others admired her determination. One elderly trader told her, "My daughter, life has beaten you down, but I see fire in your eyes. Keep working. Tomorrow will be better." Amara held those words close to her heart. She was tired, hungry, and homeless, but she refused to let despair win. Every bucket she carried, every coin she saved, was a step toward freedom. And though the road ahead was still long and filled with struggle, Amara had already made a choice. She would survive. The market had given Amara her first taste of survival, but she knew she could not depend on carrying loads forever. Her body ached every night, her arms stiff from lifting baskets and bags of rice. If she wanted to save real money, she needed to stretch her hands further. So, little by little, she started taking up other small jobs. One day, she offered to wash clothes for a young woman who had too much laundry piled in a corner. She scrubbed until her fingers turned white, rinsed until her arms shook, and spread the clothes neatly on the line. By evening, she was paid 200 naira. The next day, another woman called her to sweep a compound and scrub the veranda. Amara worked quietly, her scarf tied tight against the dust, sweat dripping down her back. She did not complain. Every coin she collected went into her bag, hidden in a small cloth purse she guarded with her life. Sometimes she helped food vendors, peeling yams, washing plates, or cutting vegetables. Other times, she bought a bag of sachet water with her little savings and resold them in the market, making small profit. She worked from sunrise till late evening, and at night she returned to her corner in the uncompleted building, tired but hopeful. Not everyone was kind. Some people used her and refused to pay. "Come tomorrow, I will give you the money," they would say, but when tomorrow came, they would chase her away. Each time, anger burned in her chest. But she never fought. She told herself, "One day I will not be at their mercy. One day, I will be my own boss. It was during one of these long days that fate brought her face to face with the woman she least wanted to see, Madame Ifeoma. Amara had been hired by a shop owner to mop his store in the market. She was on her knees, scrubbing the floor, when she heard a familiar voice laughing outside. She froze, her heart sinking. Slowly, she lifted her head, and there she was, her stepmother, wrapped in a flashy wrapper, gold earrings dangling from her ears. Kioma and Adaeze trailed behind her, carrying shopping bags. Amara? Madame Ifeoma's voice was sharp with surprise, then twisted into mockery. So this is what you have become? A common cleaner in the market? She burst into loud laughter that made passers-by turn to look. Chioma covered her mouth, pretending to be shocked. Mama, is this not the same girl who wanted to compete with us? See how she is kneeling in people's dirt. Adaeze added, I pity the man that will ever marry her, if any man even tries. Their laughter cut through Amara like a blade. Her face burned with shame, but she lowered her eyes and kept scrubbing. Madame Ifeoma stepped closer, her voice dripping with venom. You will suffer and suffer until you die. That is your destiny. Miserable girl, you will never rise. My daughters will live in palaces, but you will die in the gutter. Her laughter rang in the air, cruel and loud. After a while, they walked away, still laughing, their perfume lingering like poison. Amara sat back on her heels, her chest tight. For a moment, tears blurred her vision. She wanted to scream, to ask heaven why her life was this way. But then a stronger thought came to her. If I stop now, then she wins. If I keep pushing, one day, I will wipe that laughter from her lips. That night, as she lay in her corner of the uncompleted building, Amara thought about the encounter again and again. The shame was bitter, but out of it grew a new fire. She began to work harder, waking up earlier to look for more jobs. She washed more clothes, swept more compounds, even offered to help vendors sell in exchange for a small cut. Her body grew stronger, her skin darker from the sun, but her eyes burned with determination. Each coin she saved was proof that she was not finished. Each day of survival was a step away from Madame Ifeoma's curse. One evening, as she counted her little savings under the moonlight, Amara whispered to herself, This money is small, but it is the beginning. I will not be like this forever. I will rise, no matter how long it takes. She tucked the coins safely into her cloth purse, closed her eyes, and allowed herself to dream. Not of palaces or riches yet, but of a day when she would stand tall without fear. A day when no one could laugh at her suffering again. Months had passed since Amara first stepped into the market with nothing but her bag and her will to survive. Every coin she had carried, every drop of sweat she had shed, had not been in vain. One bright morning, she stood before a narrow shop space just beside the market road. The walls were cracked, the roof leaked in one corner, but to Amara, it looked like a palace. She placed her small bag of savings in the landlord's hands and received the key. It was the first thing she had ever owned by herself. Inside the shop sat an old, used sewing machine she had bought from a trader who no longer needed it. The paint was peeling, the wheel squeaked, but the needle still danced smoothly when she pressed the pedal. Amara touched it with trembling hands, her heart swelling with gratitude. This is the beginning, she whispered. Word spread quickly. The same market women who had once paid her to carry loads now brought their wrappers and dresses for her to sew. At first, they asked for small mending. Patch this hole, tighten this waist, shorten this skirt. But as they saw her skill, their trust grew. "Amara, you have blessed hands," one of the women said, admiring the neat stitches. "You were born for this work." Soon, more customers began to find her. Some loved how neat and patient she was. Others came because she was honest, never cheating on cloth, never overcharging. Slowly, the coins she earned became notes. The little shop, once empty, began to hold life and purpose. Amara worked tirelessly, often sewing late into the night by the light of a small kerosene lamp. She hummed quietly as she pushed the pedal, her mind full of hope. She did not know that in the crowd of faces passing by, someone was already watching her, someone who would one day change her life forever. But while her star was quietly rising, her stepmother's home was falling apart. Back in Madame Ifeoma's house, peace had long departed. Kioma and Adaizi, who once mocked Amara for cooking and cleaning, had grown into women who could not lift a finger. Their hands were soft, their nails polished, but their hearts were full of stubbornness. "Kioma, go and cook rice. I am tired," Madame Ifeoma said one evening. Kioma hissed, scrolling on her phone. "Mama, please." "Cooking is not my calling. If I marry, my husband will hire a maid." Adaiz laughed from the sofa. "Even fetching water. I cannot." "Mama, you can employ a boy to be doing that work. We are not slaves." Madame Ifeoma's eyes bulged with anger. "Are you girls mad? Which man will marry a woman who cannot even boil yam? Who will keep you in his house when you cannot sweep or wash? You will disgrace me." But the daughters only rolled their eyes. Their disrespect grew worse with each passing day. They went out when they pleased, returned at odd hours, and often quarreled with their mother. Neighbors began to whisper. Madame Ifeoma bragged about her daughters, "But see how they are spoiling. Who will take them?" At night, Madame Ifeoma would sit with her head in her hands, remembering the girl she had thrown away, the one who cooked, cleaned, fetched water, washed clothes without complaint, the one she mocked as useless. Yet Amara was no longer under her roof to serve her. Meanwhile, in her tiny shop, Amara's hands moved gracefully over the sewing machine. She turned simple cloth into beauty, her stitches neat, her patterns creative. Customers left with smiles, blessing her name. One evening, as she locked her shop, a gentle breeze passed over her face. She stood for a moment, her bag of earnings in her hand, and whispered, "Thank you, Lord. I may not be there yet, but I am no longer where I used to be." She did not know it, but her destiny was preparing to open another chapter. Her destined helper was already walking the same streets, already drawing nearer to the small shop where Amara's gift shone like hidden gold. And while Madame Ifeoma's house was filled with complaints and quarrels, Amara's shop was slowly filling with favor and quiet grace. Amara's tiny shop had become the pride of the market. What started as mending old wrappers had grown into something greater. Every day, more women walked through her door, bringing fabrics and ideas. Some wanted skirts, others blouses. Some even wanted gowns for church. Her sewing machine clicked from morning till night, its wheel spinning like the heartbeat of her new life. Amara no longer slept in the uncompleted building every night. Sometimes she stayed late in her shop, sewing under the dim glow of her lantern. "Amara, please help me sew this cloth before Sunday service," a woman begged one afternoon. "Don't worry, Mama, I'll finish it for you," Amara said, smiling. Her kindness and honesty made her business grow faster than she expected. Word spread beyond the market, and even people from other neighborhoods began to bring her clothes. Some said, "That girl's hands are blessed. She is going places, orders kept piling up. Amara worked tirelessly, never complaining, her dreams slowly unfolding before her eyes. Meanwhile, in Madame Ifeoma's house, things were falling apart. That same afternoon, Ifeoma went to the market to buy foodstuffs. She left Kioma and Adaisy at home, warning them to keep the house clean. But as soon as Ifeoma disappeared down the street, Kioma sneaked a man into the compound. The door closed behind them, and the rest was history. Neighbors noticed, whispers spread, and by the time Ifeoma returned, something had changed in the air. Her daughters, once her pride, had become her shame. That evening, Ifeoma quarreled bitterly with Kioma and Adaise. "Who will marry lazy girls like you?" she shouted, her voice echoing through the compound. "You cannot cook, you cannot clean, and now you are bringing men into my house. Have you no shame?" But instead of repenting, the girls rolled their eyes. "Mama, leave us alone." "We are not slaves," Kioma hissed. Adaise added, "Don't stress yourself. The world has changed. Men don't marry because of cooking anymore." Ifeoma was left speechless, her chest burning with regret. She remembered Amara, the girl she had thrown away, the girl who once cleaned, cooked, and kept the house in order. The girl she mocked as useless. Now, her own daughters were the true disgrace. Far away in a world Amara had never seen, another story was unfolding. In the governor's mansion, the governor's only son, Obinna, lounged in his massive bedroom with 4 of his closest friends. The air smelled of expensive wine, laughter filling the room. On the wide bed lay a large decorated box. That morning, it had been delivered from the best fashion designer in the country. Obinna had ordered a special outfit for the traditional marriage ceremony they were all attending the next day. "My guys, look at this," Obinna said, pulling out the richly embroidered agbada from the box. It glittered under the chandelier light, every stitch perfect. His friends whistled and clapped. "Ah, Obinna, you and this your show-off lifestyle," one teased. "How much did you pay for this one?" "2 million?" Obinna laughed, sipping from his glass. "Close, almost 3. You know this designer does not work for small people." Another friend shook his head. "My brother, you are wasting money. All this just to attend a wedding?" "Exactly," another added, laughing. "Are you the one getting married tomorrow? Why are you trying to steal the show?" Obinna grinned, standing before the mirror as he tried the agbada on. The cloth flowed gracefully around him, the embroidery shining gold against his dark skin. "Well, you know me," he said proudly. "When I step into any event, people must notice. I don't do average." The friends laughed again, clinking glasses of wine. But beneath the laughter, one of them muttered, Best designer in the country or not, one day you will meet someone who can make clothes with more heart than all this glamour." Obinna waved his hand dismissively, adjusting his cap in the mirror. "That day will never come. Nobody in this country can outshine my designer." The friends burst into laughter again, their voices echoing in the luxurious room. Obinna smiled at his reflection, unaware that destiny was already weaving another cloth, one being sewn by the very hands of the girl he had never met, Amara. Her needle and thread were working in a small shop by the market, but soon her talent would collide with his world of wealth and luxury. And when that happened, everything would change. The convoy of black SUVs cut through the dusty road leading to Umui's village, their tinted windows glinting in the sun. Inside one of the cars, Obinna, the governor's only son, leaned back against the leather seat, sipping from a bottle of chilled water. His friends surrounded him, laughing and chatting about the event they were headed to. the famous Osaporo traditional marriage marathon. Tomorrow, the whole southeast will gather, one of his friends said. And Obina, you know you must steal the show with that Agbada. Obina smirked, adjusting the gold wristwatch on his hand. Trust me, when I step in, heads will turn. My outfit alone cost more than some men's cars. Laughter filled the car, but midway into the journey, the convoy slowed down. Near a busy roadside market, the drivers wanted to buy water and stretch their legs. The friends stepped out, the air thick with the smell of roasted corn and fried akara. Women balanced basins on their heads, calling out prices. Children ran between stalls. Obina wiped his face with a white handkerchief and turned toward the car. Just as he opened the door, the edge of the sharp wooden stall beside him caught on his agbada. There was a sharp sound. Rrrp. The richly embroidered cloth tore. Obina froze, his mouth open in disbelief. Ah! One of his friends shouted. 3 million naira agbada, and it has torn like ordinary nylon. Another burst into laughter. Best designer in the country, Abi. See work now. Oh boy, you don't suffer. Obina's chest burned with anger. Keep quiet, all of you, he snapped. What am I supposed to wear now? One of the locals watching the scene stepped forward. Oga, no vex. There is a girl here in this market. Her name is Amara. Her hands are gifted. She can fix it for you. Quick, quick. Obina frowned. A roadside tailor? Do you know who made this cloth? But another villager nodded firmly. Forget designer. That girl's hands are blessed. Give her the cloth. Desperate, Obina sighed. Fine. Take me to her. They led him and his friends down a narrow path to a small shop at the edge of the market. There, bent over a sewing machine, sat Amara. Her scarf was tied neatly around her head, her gown simple but clean. The hum of her machine filled the little room as her hands moved with precision. When she looked up and saw the group of well-dressed young men enter, her heart skipped. She quickly stood, wiping her hands on her gown. Good afternoon, sirs, she said softly. Obina held out the agbada, his face tight with irritation. This cloth tore. Can you fix it? Amara took the garment gently, her eyes scanning the fine embroidery. She nodded with calm confidence. Yes, I can fix it. Please sit down. Obina raised a brow, surprised by her composure. His friends exchanged doubtful looks, whispering jokes. But Amara said nothing more. She sat at her machine, threaded her needle, and began to work. Her hands moved quickly yet carefully, every stitch precise. Within minutes, the tear was gone, the embroidery neat as if it had never been touched. She folded the agbada and handed it back to Obina with a small smile. It's ready, sir. Obina examined it, turning it over in his hands. His eyes widened. Even his expensive designer had not stitched with such perfection. This, he said slowly, this is impressive. His friends leaned over, their mouths open. Chai. Guy, she's better than your big man designer-o. For the first time that day, Obina laughed. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a thick bundle of notes. He pressed it into Amara's hands. This is for you. Thank you, Amara gasped. Sir, this is too much. Keep it, he said firmly. Then, after a pause, he added, Give me your number. I may need you again. Amara hesitated, her fingers trembling slightly, but she recited her number. Obina saved it immediately, his expression thoughtful. Something about her calm strength lingered in his mind even as he walked out. The convoy continued its journey, and soon they arrived at Umuezi village. The traditional marriage was in full swing. Drums beating, flutes singing, women dancing in colorful wrappers, the air alive with excitement. When it was time for the dance, Obina stepped forward, his agbada flowing perfectly. He joined the couple on the dance floor, spreading crisp notes as the crowd cheered. His friends clapped, chanting his name, but in the back of his mind, one image refused to fade: Amara's quiet smile as she worked her machine. Back in Madame Ifeoma's house, shame had taken root. Kioma, her eldest daughter, had fallen pregnant. The neighbors whispered, the same ones who once envied them. Madame Ifeoma buried her face in her hands, her heart heavy. "This is what my daughters have become," she muttered bitterly, "and the one I cast away, the one I called useless, she is the one God is lifting." Her regret had just begun. The news of Kioma's pregnancy spread through Umui's village like wildfire. At first, Madame Ifeoma tried to cover it up, but tongues wagged too fast. Before long, she was summoned by the Women's Fellowship. "You have failed us," the leader said coldly. "Your daughter has brought shame to our community. From today, you are no longer part of this meeting." The humiliation did not stop there. The pastor of her church announced one Sunday that she would step aside from women's leadership until further notice. Madame Ifeoma sat in the back pew, her wrapper pulled over her face as whispers stung her like bees. Shame became her daily companion. Her blood pressure rose, and soon she was bedridden. But worse than the sickness was the silence in her house. Kioma and Adais did not care. They went about their lives as if their mother did not exist. One night, Madame Ifeoma begged, "Kioma, please help me fetch water." "I am weak," Kioma sneered. "When I was hungry, did you care for me?" "Manage yourself," Adaisi added cruelly. "Mama, you are reaping what you sowed. You treated Amara like a slave, and now God has turned your own children against you. Evil woman." Madame Ifeoma turned her face to the wall, tears soaking her pillow. In her loneliness, her mind replayed the past, how she had mocked Amara, starved her, and finally thrown her out. For the first time in years, regret stabbed her heart. "If only I had treated her better," she whispered. "If only I had not pushed her away." Meanwhile, far from the bitterness of that house, Amara's little shop buzzed with life. Her machine whirred late into the evening, her customers leaving with smiles. But she had no idea that her destiny was about to turn another page. Back in the capital, Obina reclined on his bed after returning from the Osaporo traditional marriage. His agbada shone, his friends laughed, but his mind was elsewhere. He thought of Amara's calm face, her skillful hands, her humility. He reached for his phone and dialed the number she had given him. "Hello?" Amara's soft voice floated through. "Amara, it's Obina," he said warmly. Her heart skipped. "Oh, good evening, sir." They spoke at length about her work, her struggles, and her dreams. Obina listened with genuine interest, his respect for her growing. Before hanging up, he said, "Tomorrow, I am coming to see you. I have a surprise for you." Amara's fingers trembled as she held the phone. Could this be real? The next day, the quiet streets of Umuis trembled with excitement. A convoy of black SUVs rolled into the village, escorted by police motorcycles and DSS officers. Children ran alongside, shouting, "The governor's son! The governor's son is here." The cars stopped near Amara's shop. Villagers crowded around, craning their necks in disbelief. When Obina stepped out, dressed in a simple but elegant outfit, murmurs rippled through the crowd. And then it happened. He walked straight into Amara's shop. Without hesitation, he gave her a warm hug. Gasps filled the air. My tailor, he said with a smile. I told you I would come. Amara blushed, bowing slightly. Thank you, sir. You honor me. They talked briefly, Obina praising her gift and promising more support. Outside, villagers whispered, Is this the same Amara that Madame Ifeoma threw away? See how God has lifted her. By evening, the news had reached every corner of the village, and finally, Madame Ifeoma's ears. Her daughters stormed into her room, faces bitter. Mama, it is your fault. You made us treat Amara like trash. Now she is with the governor's son, and we are nothing. For the first time, the daughters blamed their mother for their downfall. Madame Ifeoma buried her face in her hands, her heart breaking under the weight of regret. Days later, Obina fulfilled his promise. He brought Amara to the capital city. Her eyes widened as he led her into a gleaming new tailoring shop, fully equipped with modern sewing machines, shining mirrors, and shelves stacked with fabric. This is yours, Obina said gently. Amara dropped to her knees, tears spilling down her cheeks. Sir, I don't deserve this. Thank you. But Obina bent quickly and lifted her up. Amara, never kneel to me. You deserve it. You've worked, you've suffered, and you've earned your place. Amara's heart swelled with gratitude. For the first time, she felt the warmth of destiny embracing her. Back in Umui's, Madame Ifeoma lay weak on her bed. Her daughters no longer cared for her, the village no longer respected her, and loneliness was her only companion. She whispered into the silence, Amara, my child, will you ever forgive me? Her eyes closed, tears rolling down her wrinkled face. For the first time in her life, she truly wished she could turn back the hands of time. But destiny had already chosen its path. To be continued.